What is up, guys? Welcome back to another mod review. Today I bring you a Rogue Wisp by Rein. The link will be in the description if you want to download it. But let's get started on this review. First, we're gonna head over and read through these skills and check these out, and then I am gonna show some gameplay in the background and talk about my overall view on the character and how I feel they play and what I feel their strengths and weaknesses are. Let's get started right from the top. We're going to be looking at the passive first. Unstable conflagration. Flame charge empowers your abilities but decays over time. Gain barrier when you regain flame charge. So this is a new passive that this character gains for doing different abilities and for attacking and other such things. So to get more on this, we're going to go ahead and read the first primary, the basic primary ability. Runic Wave. Fire a shockwave for 165% damage, restoring flame charge on hit. It's a pretty decent basic ability, and you do get flame charge on hit, which also gives you barriers. Pretty good. Then we have the basic secondary, legendary spark. Create a line of flame pillars that explode for 250% damage. Enemies hit more than once take reduced damage. Consumes flame charge on cast. Then we have the utility Inferno. Create an inferno that ignites all enemies for 80% per second. While in the inferno, we move faster and gain flame charge from ignited enemies. And finally, we have the ultimate or the special Incineration. You channel a beam for 500% damage per second, continuing as long as you hold the button. You gain armor, but you cannot move while firing. This drains flame charge per second while firing. So overall, we have here a low mobility, high damage mage character. So now let's talk about my impressions on this character and how I feel they are in terms of strength and weaknesses. Also, at the time of this recording, there are no alternate abilities, but he did add a skin button all the way here. And on here you can change the different styles of your Wisp's character, what he's made out of, what kind of glow he puts out, different colors. It's pretty cool add-on that he did put in here, so you can make your character look your own way and however you really want him to. This is very nice skin add-on, so very cool to have this here. Okay, so let's get started on talking about this character and how I feel. So first off, I'm going to start by saying this character is definitely not my style of character. I personally love high mobility characters, but I still gave it a chance anyways. And I will say that if you are also in more of a high mobility, like a mercenary player, this is definitely not the character for you. This is much more for the people who like to play stuff like engineer and artificer, where your mobility is much lower, but you get a much higher damage output and the ability to really pump damage out like crazy without having too much ability to move around and dodge. Though if you're good and you know the enemy's abilities and their fire rates and how they attack, you can really work around it and do just enough to dodge some damage. But really where this character shines is definitely in just outputting tons of damage. So I guess I'll start by talking about this flame charge passive, which is one of the more unique parts of the kit that is given to you by this character. So with this new flame charge passive, essentially every time you damage enemies and you use some of your abilities such as Inferno, and you do this, you keep getting these passive procs and your bars will fill up over time, and they'll start to change colors. It starts out, I think, white and goes into red, green, and then blue, and that is your passive charging up. You're essentially storing up a large amount of flame energy, and in using your other abilities that you disperse that for extra bonus damage on your abilities, such as your legendary spark or your incineration beam. Essentially this becomes the entire toolkit that surrounds your character. Your character revolves around charging up your flame charge ability and then dishing it out at the end with a huge incineration beam and doing just massive amounts of damage to whatever enemy you're fighting, whether it be the boss or a large tanky enemy. So for most of it, essentially the game plan became run in circles while inside of your inferno bubble, build up as much flame charge as you can, and then dish it out all in one large blast to take out anything that stands in your way. Now of course that's a lot easier said than done when you're running around in a circle with 10 to 15 enemies, a couple of elites, and a bunch of wisps flying in the air. This is definitely going to be a character that's more suited towards the artificer players than anyone else, as they probably know how to manage their ability to move around. But I will say, once you do start to get a couple of items on this character, especially some movement items and some healing items, you do end up feeling extremely tanky, especially since you gain armor during your incineration move. You can actually tank quite a few moves just by holding that beam down, so it doesn't feel too bad. Overall, this character is pretty decently balanced, I would say. Now I will say, if you do try out this character, just give it a couple of runs to really start to feel out the character. It definitely took me quite a few runs before I started really understanding how to play the character. And if you don't really still feel like you don't understand, essentially your whole playstyle really has to revolve around just make sure you always remember charge up your flame charge. So this usually means trying to group up a large amount of enemies, sitting inside your inferno bubble, running in a bunch of circles, not even having to really kill them too much unless it's lesser wisps or anything that you know is way too dangerous to leave alive, and just really doing that like 2 or 3 times before you really discharge your final beam so that you get the maximum damage out of it possible. And that's going to be your whole gameplay loop as it goes with this character. And I will say it's actually it's fairly fun. Like I wouldn't say that the character feels underpowered or undertuned at the moment. There might be a couple of things that need tweaking here and there, but it's not like he's too far off from where this character kind of needs to be. Like personally, I would want something that could move me around the map a little bit faster, but I definitely understand where they're going with this character as just a high damage, low mobility character. And I don't know if I would be willing to give up Inferno for the ability to even have like a dash or a teleport or whatever else, or a jump. I don't know if I would be 100% willing to give that up, as Inferno is probably one of the most useful abilities that this has, and being its utility, it makes sense that it is one of the most useful abilities there. It does charge up your flame charge the fastest out of any of your other abilities, and it gives you so much flame charge as long as you're hitting multiple enemies, that giving that up for some other kind of movement ability would be a very tough call. So all in all, guys, I think this is a pretty well done mod. Like this is a highly recommended one for me. Like I said, if you're a high mobility playstyle, then maybe you don't want to check this out. But if you're definitely looking to do tons of damage and have a pretty crazy looking run with tons of abilities going around, and a very unique and different playstyle from any of the other characters that we have so far, I definitely say go ahead and check this one out and download it. I'm going to leave a link in the description. Now, as always, guys, please like and subscribe. It really helps me out and it helps get these videos out there. So if you liked it, you know what to do, and I'll see you guys next time.